I have presided over 50 such ceremonies as this in my career, and I've sat through another 50. And it is still exciting to see graduates seated and waiting for that special moment of degree conferral, which symbolizes much hard work and many memorable experiences. And then, of course, significant others who are here today filling the arena to see their graduate receive that degree, many of whom have had an active hand in making this degree possible. Graduation is very special for all of us, as is ceremony. There may be few ceremonies in our culture that matches the significance of graduation from college. I came to IUP as a first-generation college student, meaning that neither of my parents had a college degree. In fact, neither of my parents attended high school. There are special challenges that confront first-generation college students. It's been written about and chronicled. I had my challenges. I'm going to tell you two stories. The first one is my freshman year. I enrolled in my classes, one of which was a required physical education course. And the teacher said, "These are the things you need to do to pass this course," one of which was tread water for 1 minute. I couldn't swim a lick. So came the day that I had to jump into the pool and stay afloat for a minute. You can imagine the flailing, the panic, the hubbub, straining to keep my head above water. I managed to do that. For 1 minute, they pulled me out of the pool, flopped me up on the side of the pool, and I just laid there for a few minutes trying to recover. I tell you that story because that story is a metaphor for my entire freshman year at IUP. Trying to keep my head above water, breathing deeply, wondering if I was going to make it. I went home following my freshman year, and over the course of the summer, given a little that I learned while I was here in terms of process, and a few other significant events in my life, I figured out some things. I came back in my sophomore year determined to get this done and get it done well. And I'm very proud to say that I did that. Fast forward to graduation, 4 years later, and I finished my student teaching, heading back to the 8th grade to teach geography, perhaps for the rest of my life. My geography professor, one of them, Dr. Robert Thomas, who himself was a 1950 graduate of IUP, called me and said, "Are you thinking about going to graduate school?" Well, I hadn't thought much about that. That's another characteristic of first-generation college students. We don't set our sights so high. And he told me he thought I could pursue my master's degree and get some help to do it if I applied for a graduate assistantship. I thought I'd give it a try, and we did that. I got my assistantship. Went off to the University of Pittsburgh. I finished my coursework up, and at the end of that first year, before I had written my thesis, a geography professor at the University of Pittsburgh Bradford campus, late in August, left to take another job, and the University of Pittsburgh Bradford had 2 or 3 weeks to find a geography professor. And that was me. So I didn't get back to the 8th grade. I went to the University of Pittsburgh Bradford, and I spent the rest of my career in higher education. You know, someone asked me that story, how did you get from here to there? And when I was telling the story, and I heard myself talking about the role Dr. Thomas played in redirecting my career and my life, I thought, you know, I thanked him at the time, but when I was traveling around the country talking to alumni groups everywhere, they would often ask, how is faculty member X? How is the person in career service who helped me? People that they remembered from their undergraduate days. And after a while, I began carrying a directory of the campus with all kinds of contact information and little cards. And when someone would say, how is Dr. So-and-so? I would tell them, and then I would say, you ought to, because they would usually say, gee, she was terrific, or something like that. Changed my life, made a difference for me. In my case, redirected my life. I would say, give them a call, email them, here's the contact information, and usually the response was, they're not going to remember me. And you know, that doesn't matter, I told them. I would at least go back to the campus, I've made notes, and I would tell the person, you may get a call, but if you don't, you should know that this was said. Graduates, it took me 50 years up until about 6 months ago when I was telling this story to someone to think to myself, Dr. Thomas has no idea what I did since I went off to graduate school. I'm going to see if I can find him. I did. He's 88 years old. He's a retired professor at Michigan State University. And I thanked him. Consider the same with the people that have made a difference here in your life. Do it today if somebody comes to mind. It's possible that in 5 or 10 years, when you have a different perspective on your degree here and what it has meant to your work and your life, then you'll think about it. You might even wait 50 years, but I don't advise waiting that long. You know, when I was growing up as a child in the 40s, this country made a commitment to provide access and opportunity across the population for a college degree. And it did something about it. 1944, the GI Bill of Rights. 1950, the Truman Commission launched the community college push. 1958, the National Defense Student Loan came into being. 1965, the Federal Financial Aid Program began. I missed that, by the way. And then finally, in 1972, the Basic Opportunity Grants, you now know as the Pell Grants, were added to the Federal Financial Aid Program. That was 1972, and I'm suggesting that was the last big idea on the federal level to enact this commitment of greater access to higher education, more degrees across the entire country for very obvious reasons. I could list for you countless economic benefits if we could actualize that in a significant way, and for a period of time we did. And I could also list any number of reasons why civic engagement and social enrichment would be improved if we could do that and continue doing that in a big way today. I wish I could be more hopeful that that would happen again on the federal level. I'm hopeful that the states at some point individually will figure out a way to get at this issue of access and opportunity, because that's what IUP certainly was for me. But you know, this issue is difficult. And Robert Putnam, acclaimed social scientist, who just finished a book titled Our Kids, The American Dream in Crisis, talks about an opportunity gap. He did loads of research over many years. He's now said, this is my last book. And he talks about people being born into a situation that now must confront that opportunity gap given where we've gone today with public higher education. When I sat down with my mother to discuss whether or not we could do college, we looked very carefully at it. My mother was a single mother at the time. I had a younger brother and sister, but we decided that we could come up with a little under $1,000. She would help, I would work summers, and I could go. Today, if we had that conversation, probably not. In fact, we may have done what some families are being forced to do today, opt out long before you even get to that point, and simply decide, what am I going to do now? The point of all this is that we need to pay attention to this in a very, very significant way. It's not good for our country. It's not going to be good for the future. And I'm concerned very much about people who are going to follow you and what their opportunities are going to be like. So this would be my charge to the class. When you graduate and you find yourself in a situation in your community, among friends, maybe in a leadership position in your community or state, be an advocate for more access, more opportunity, more support for public higher education. Simply do it. That will make a difference for not only the people who manage to get that degree, but everyone else around them. And secondly, stay close to IUP. Your institution is going to need your help in a big way to maintain what they've been able to provide you over these years. Come back often, stay in touch, do whatever you can to be helpful as an advocate or even in terms of financial support. Frank Bruni, a noted writer with the New York Times, just published a book titled, and I want to get this right, "Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be." And as I look out and I see you, I think to myself, you've had an outstanding educational opportunity in a very supportive, high-quality educational situation. And you're ready. This is your platform. This is your foundation. And you'll think, I think, in years to come how important this was in ways that you can't imagine now. So I want you to remember that where you go is not who you'll be. You can get anywhere you want to go from IUP. Let me tell you that it's a pleasure being with you today. I congratulate each and every one of you. I wish you good luck and the very best. Thank you.